By the time Matt Busby was knighted in the happy aftermath of the European Cup victory of 1968, he and Manchester United were national institutions. When he became general manager in the following year, such a confident organisation was almost bound to seek a new team manager from within. The choice was Wilf McGuinness, who had grown up with the club through the era of the Busby Babes and had graduated smoothly from player to coach.
Right round, come on.
He said, Wilf, I want you to be the team manager. I'm moving upstairs. You're in charge of all the team affairs, the training, the coaching, the picking of the team. And he said, I'm here to help. And that's how it was. Unfortunately, that was a grey area then. I didn't know how much he wanted to do and how much I didn't. And in the end, to the players, they still called him boss. I never got the sack from Manchester United. I could have had my old job back. And he tried so hard to do it in a nice way, but I made it that difficult for him. He had to do it in a hard way in the end. And in the end, you know, we had to go at each other, if you like. I'm talking about after several days when he told me that the directors, when I had the manager's job there, the team manager's job, the directors wanted him to come back, and he said it in such a nice way that I accepted that side, but the hurt came, and I wanted to know why, so I stayed for a while after I was demoted, and I got angry, and he must have got angry with me, because I knew at the end that how hard it could be.
We all come into the game when we're 15 or 16-year-olds, and with a love for the game. It's not the financial rewards, there's an innocence, and there has to be an innocence about it that brings you into the game. It's not the real life. It's football. You go from 15 to 35, and you don't grow up in lots of ways, because it's season to season, and the game is the thing that matters.
It's a private world.
It's a completely private world. It's an unreal world in that sense. And I certainly, the finances don't come into it. I know from my experience it didn't. I never thought about money when I was playing. And I think the managers, when you finish playing, the people who have love for it want to stay in it. And they still have that innocence going into management. When you go into management, it's a different thing to playing, where you look after yourself and your abilities. When you go into management, you're now dealing with directors who are in the real world. They're in the business world.
Even in the most democratic football gatherings, Busby's presence gave him an unmistakable authority. But it was the inevitability of his elevation to the boardroom that persuaded many on the outside that any successor in the manager's chair would be subjected to special pressures. Busby was one director no manager could ignore. Frank O'Farrell was next to feel the heat of the legend's proximity.
I'm getting a bit tired of a lot of things. I thought when I gave the managership up, I was going to get a bit of peace and contentment. I'd be able to enjoy my football, but unfortunately this hasn't been the case. This is the second time I've had to come in to fill a gap until an appointment is made. So one feels that one is getting a bit tired of it all.
It is, of course, because of your experience that you've been asked by the board to take over again.
Yes.
Do you accept that in some way this must be an inhibiting effect on those who are trying to succeed you?
I can't understand that. I can never understand this situation and all this controversy about Sir Matt Busby's image and Sir Matt Busby looking over somebody's shoulder and Matt Busby is doing this and doing that. I can tell you, I never see anything here. I haven't seen 1 minute's training all the time. All the time Frank Gore, all the time since the last appointment was made. I don't interfere, I go along there, I can never understand it. Why all this is put that I am, as if I was interfering.
If I wanted anything at all, I could go to Matt urgently say, Matt, this is what I'm proposing to do. And I always went to Matt because Matt was really the gaffer.
I think he fancied, you know, that life had been hard enough and he'd done his bit, you know. You get on with it and do it if you can. But whenever there was a little crisis or the team were playing badly, people would go to Sir Matt and say, you know, what about this? And he wanted to leave them to it and get on with it, I think.
The manager's office at Old Trafford seemed to have been fitted with a revolving door. Sir Matt wanted Jock Stein to put an end to all that, but the big man could not be wooed.
I've had opportunities to move, good opportunities to move, moves that would have been better financially to me. But I've got ties here, I've got ties that I've got my home here, my family prefer to be here. But the most important tie here is that I like to be manager of Celtic, and I like the people I'm working with. It's as simple and straightforward as that. I like the players I'm working with. The directors I work with are very good as well, so I've got no complaints. And the most important thing is, I like the people who support us. I like to see them getting a bit of success. And I'm egotistical enough to think that if I'm here, we'll have reasonable success anyway. Maybe wrong in that, but quite happy with it.
A manager is a very, very specialised profession that in 10 years of success in industry would have a very, very high position in that industry. In football, if you have 10 years of success, you're actually more insecure in the 11th year than you are in the previous 10. In other words, you don't actually build anything. If you win the double this year, if you don't win the double next year, it's not as good a season as the previous season.
You build vulnerability.
Yes, and you also, I think, from the director's point of view, there's a lot of glory attached to it, and people who are in industry put a price on glory. In other words, there was another thing in football. You could have the glory, but you couldn't have the money as well. Don't be greedy. And when you're a manager, no matter how successful you are always an employee of that company.
The money is never a big thing with him. He used to say that, he said, you know, when I was with Celtic, because I was quite well known, I mean, he wasn't quite well known, he was internationally famous. Because I was quite well known, people tended to think that I was well off. He said I was never well off. He reckoned, I didn't ask him what he was paid, of course, but he clearly was never paid very highly. Certainly not to match the kind of qualities that he brought to the club.
Stein never really was troublesome about money. And maybe unconsciously we took advantage of that. Though I remember, straight enough, Bill Shankly at Celtic Park getting me in the corridor and telling me what a gem we had in Stein to make sure I would look after him. And I did, to some extent, try, but probably not to the extent that it should have been done. I would like to think that I knew Stein well enough that if he felt so badly, he would still have spoken to me. But he may have thought that other directors would have resisted a kind of claim for additional money.
You look at the new managers in the game, and they're millionaires. The new managers are millionaires. If you think of Kevin Keegan and Robson and Hoddle and
Jerry France,
you know, they are. I mean, I'm saying they're millionaires. Let's put it this way: they're very wealthy boys from their career in football, and good luck to them. Whereas our managers, we're talking about the great Scottish managers, would finish playing with nothing. I mean, I finished playing with nothing. Believe me, I lived in a clubhouse all my playing career, never had anything. We had no pensions, we had nothing. We had a terrific life as a player, don't get me wrong, and I wouldn't swap it for anything, but we didn't finish with any money. And those old managers were the same, so we were all, as it were, of a similar background, and there was no gulf between them and us, and everybody understood each other.
Shankly, the crowd singing, and surely no manager has ever had a rapport with his supporters such as Bill Shankly. Other hands available behind Keegan. Beautiful ball to Smith. He didn't have to move to get it. Ball to Smith. Highway, Liverpool showing the party pieces. He wasn't offside. Smith. Yes! Keegan second. Newcastle were on track.
Bill Shankly's retired.
He hasn't. You haven't been on, haven't you?
No, I'm not having one. I've just been to Anfield, honest.
Who says?
He said, he just announced it at lunchtime today, and the board were with him. Shankly? Bill Shankly is retired.
Yes, I heard that, yes.
You heard that? How do you feel about it?
Well, I think it's a bit of a shock, but I think he's a very wise man, really. At his age, anyhow.
Yeah. He wants the rest.
He's on top, so he may as well more or less kind of move on while he's on top.
How do you feel then?
That's terrible.
Right, just going about, more or less, about Bill Shankly.
Well, you wouldn't leave, would you? He's left.
Honestly, he's retired, honestly.
Give us a paper. It's not in the papers yet. He's left, really.
Don't believe that. Come on, let's put it back.
Don't believe that.
I was shocked. I was totally shocked. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I thought, well, why has he done that? I mean, they had just won the cup.
I never found out, and Bob didn't find out, or anybody found out, why he wanted to retire.
I still don't know why Bill went. He said he was tired and he wanted a rest. I actually said to John Smith, who was fairly new as chairman then, leave it. John Smith hadn't the relationship with Bill that I had, and I thought I might be able to persuade him. And I talked at length with Bill and told him that you know, the board were desperate for him to stay in any form he wanted, and he could have any job he wanted. He could be consultant, he could be general manager, he could pick his own team manager to be with him. He could simply do what he wanted to do. He could come in 1 day a week, 5 days a week, pick and choose just what he wanted to do. But Bill was absolutely adamant.
That was how much you thought of him and his contribution.
It was, yeah. And I thought, because, as I say, the relationship Bill and I had, which remained until he died, that I would persuade him, but I couldn't. And if I couldn't, I knew that nobody else could.
I gathered later on that it was supposed something to do about Shanks never understood money. Never understood money, pensions, and it was to do about, he was worried about if he worked on seemingly he wouldn't get his pension. I mean, it was just a nonsense thing. So all I needed was somebody to say, Bill, you can carry on working as long as you like.